Well, it's the 14th, 15th, let me just check. It's the 14th of December.
November.
Let's start this one again. Today's the 14th of November. We've come down to Magaluf to see what it's like. We've had some terrible weather, but I'll tell you all about that in a moment. Just behind us, we've got the Magaluf strip, which is totally deserted. Not a soul in the strip, and that's really how you'd expect it to be in November. But let's us get on with our walk, and we're just going down here. We're going towards the beach, and we're going past Stereo. These are places I don't really know too much about, but Michael Horrocks does. And Michael, wish you were here? I guess you do. This is the Stereo Bar, just on the way down to Magaluf Beach. So Michael, if you're watching, I bet you wish you were here, but I bet you wish it was the summertime as well. We've just had maybe 2 weeks, it's felt like 2 weeks, of virtually non-stop rain. You might see on the pavement, it's still wet here. On Friday we'd got our grandchildren, we needed to look for something to do with them, and we ended up going to see a dinosaur exhibition which was indoor, so didn't have an issue with that. And then yesterday, which was the Saturday, we thought we'd take them out somewhere, but the weather has just been really bad. Lots of wind, lots of rain, and even this morning, Sunday morning, it's been Remembrance Day, so we stayed in to watch the ceremony at the cenotaph, so it wasn't too bad for us, but we wanted to come out, and we've had to wait till the afternoon for the weather to settle down enough for us to come down to Magaluf. But as you can see, it's all closed up. The sea is dead calm, it really is. We've just driven through Palma Nova, and there were a few boats out there and people actually out water skiing, all suited up in their wetsuits, but I guess if that's your thing, then calm seas like this are ideal for the water skiing. So Mallorca doesn't offer a great deal when the weather is bad, and normally when we have bad weather it usually lasts for maybe a few hours or maybe a day or two. So I think this fairly persistent storm that we've had has been a little bit exceptional. We do normally have bad weather, and it's only 3 years since we had the terrible floods in San Lorenzo, which sadly took people's lives and businesses, homes, all got washed away. The storms were so bad. But usually these storms, they come and they go, but this particular one has been based off the south coasts of Mallorca, and it's been bringing strong winds and heavy rain. The strong winds and the heavy rain seem to have been more in the north of the island than down here in the south and southwest. And yes, they have had flooding up there, and the winds have been doing some damage too. Lots of trees blown over. So we've been quite lucky so far. There were weather warnings out all week for wind and for rain. Magaluf seems to have got off fairly lightly. It's now Sunday afternoon. We spied the opportunity to come out and take a little walk around. So it's interesting to see there a big pile of sand and gravel. They're using this time of the year to do the repair works and hopefully get everything shipshape for 2022, which isn't far away now. The world travel market was in London a week or two ago, and the the Baleares sent a delegation to promote the island, and part of that promotion is really to tell everybody how safe Mallorca is to come to, and that they were hoping to be open for business very early in the new year. At the moment, nearly all the hotels are closed up. You will find one or two open, but not very many. As you can see from the businesses here, they've all got winterized, they're all closed up, and they'll be waiting to see what the new season has to offer. And just as we saw some preparation for work on the last road up, here's a lot more digging. So it's
some pipes
all dug up. Looks as though they're going to be putting some pipe work in or something. Probably some drainage, which we'll go out to see. Rather large seagulls around. And just one or two people who ventured out, like us, for a walk. The temperature actually isn't too bad. Just before we came out, we both got togged up. It's actually quite warm, don't you think?
Not bad.
Yeah. It's probably in the high teens, probably 17 or 18 degrees Celsius. I don't think it's hitting 20 today. We were looking back at this time last year, and we did a walk around Palma Nova in November, and I was just wearing a polo shirt, no jacket, no jumper. And I think I'll probably feel fairly comfortable actually walking in a polo shirt this afternoon. Just look at the puddles. How much water we've had. It's been raining. And, I've been at school all week, so it's not been a problem for me. But it's certainly washed the car down. And people who work outside, the builders, they find it obviously difficult to get any work done. And they start some work and they have to stop, and then sometimes you'll have to restart it again. It gave our grandchildren an opportunity to get the Wellingtons out and to splash in the puddles. Any of you who've got children or grandchildren of that age will be fully aware of Peppa Pig jumping in the muddy puddles. Well, that's what our grandchildren were doing. They thoroughly enjoyed the dinosaur park. It's here for about another week or so, and they are huge. They are really big animatronics. They actually move. Some of the models actually move and make noises, and so they're really quite impressive. Our youngest grandchild that we took was only 3, and she was a little apprehensive before we went. But once we got there, she was really interested in running around, wanting to see what else there was to see. We're far into Magaluf now. You can see all the bars, everything's closed up. It's the piano bar. The sun's out, and actually in the sun it really is quite warm. The leaves have been falling, and yeah, it's an autumn day, and now I'm beginning, I wish I hadn't put my jacket on.
Typical.
And you must be warm in all of that.
I'll take up my little jacket on.
But I just really wanted to get out of the house. We've been in the house all morning, and just to get a little bit of fresh air and get the opportunity to see what Magaluf was like. And really it's exactly as we'd expect it to be, mostly closed. one or two people out for a walk, just like us. Some people maybe been to work and they're on their way home. It is a Sunday. They may have been to work. Well, there's one or two shops that are still open. So I guess people can be going home from the shops. Magaluf, a totally different place in the winter time than it is summer. Everybody in deep anticipation of what's going to happen over the Christmas period. The government here are very nervous. They're worried about a sixth wave, and the numbers certainly here in Mallorca are going up a little. And one of the more important indicators is the R number. This is the reproduction number, and at 1 it stays perfectly stable. We don't get any more new cases, it stays level. But if the R number goes above 1, then the number of cases starts to increase, and for a couple of days this week the R number has just been a fraction over 1. We have quite a few cases. They say that there is no pressure at all on our national health system, though if you listen to the doctors and nurses, they may tell you a different story, because they are still working very long hours, and would like to see it a little bit easier as we enter the winter months, when we're going to get cases of flu and other things that go with the winter time. So we've read that in other parts of Europe, in the Netherlands for example, they've started to bring in new restrictions because the numbers have been going up there. So it's things like shops have to close by a certain time in the evening, and so do bars and restaurants and the like. And the local government here really doesn't want to bring in those sorts of restrictions again. But should they have to? I think they will. But we'll see what happens in the lead up to Christmas. There's a bar open, that's nice to see. And lots of people out for a walk. That's so nice to see.
Ani, zastavička je tady, prosím pěkně, jo? Takže to tak, jak to říkám. Ano, takto.
I'm not sure, what nationality was that, dear?
Polish, maybe, or Russian.
Not sure. Saying that most of the hotels are closed. It's just always nice to see an exception, and here we are getting up close towards BCM, and there's a coach just leaving the hotel here. Not one coach, but 2 coaches, and lots of people waiting to get on that coach. So this is the Hotel Samos, which is one that managed to stay open for much of last year when the COVID restrictions were at their highest. The Samos was one of the few hotels that actually managed to stay open, and that's good to see. And these look to be senior holiday makers. So, not sure where they're from, but quite often the Spanish government organise trips for pensioners to come over. And yet another coach. Busy times at the Samos. Coach drivers certainly get my admiration, particularly on the roads here in Mallorca, where they've got to negotiate narrow roads, parked cars, and these steel bollards that are popping up all over the place. And they do it with such precision, and rarely do you see any accidents. So we're just going past the BCM, which I don't really think got going this year, or last year, or the year before. It hasn't been open for a long time, though they were doing a lot of work on it, so I guess they're hoping 2022 will be the big opening. Clubs did get permission to open up, but with really severe restrictions, so I'm not sure, particularly here in Majorca, how successful any of the clubs have been at opening. I think some might have opened for a party night and then closed again. This is the captain's bar. This one was totally gutted inside. The windows have now been whitewashed out, so we can't actually see what's going on in there. Guess is that somebody's rejuvenating the place. It's completely gutted. Everything, like even the floor tiles were taken out. So it'd be interesting to see what that looks like when they do eventually open up. And all along here, everything is now closed up for the winter. And the problem really that Magaluf has is that they don't have enough residents. There's not enough people who actually live in this area, and so there's not enough clients for the bars and for the restaurants, even for the supermarkets. So a lot of these places just can't survive the winter, so they close. So across the road we have the Sol Kathmandu Hotel, was open, but it's now closed up, as you'd probably expect. We've actually nearly done our circular tour. Done very well. I've got a dodgy knee, so I'm not planning to walk any great distance.
We're going to have a coffee now.
So we did notice that Leo's pub looked as though it might be open, so we might just pop in there and have a quick coffee before we go home, and then back to work tomorrow. Here's the one of the COVID test centres. I'm still getting questions, people asking me about what happens with COVID tests. Well, to come here you don't have to have, if you're coming from the UK and you've had your 2 vaccinations, you don't have to have any tests to come here. The question I had from Will this morning though was, what about if he's already had COVID and had a recovery? Spain does allow some countries to send people to Majorca. People are allowed to travel to Spain and to Majorca with a recovery certificate, but the UK is not one of them. And when you look on the website, there's 2 little asterisks which say that they do not accept recovery from COVID. So you have to then pass the other restrictions, either be double vaccinated or you have to take a PCR test. Going back to the UK, again it varies which country you're going back to, and we're now very well aware that people are watching our videos from all over the world, particularly all over Europe, but certainly it's not just the UK. And most of my comments are clearly aimed at the UK because that's where most of the viewers come from. But if you're going back to England, you still at the moment have to book a day 2 test, and that test can now be a lateral flow test, and you have to book it before you can fill in your passenger locator form, because you need the booking number in order to complete the form. You can't complete the form without it, so you have to get that. And then well, it depends on how you do it. So our last trip to the UK, we actually visited a centre in an Asda car park, which worked very well, almost worked very well. I nearly missed mine. I went on the wrong day, but still managed to get it done. And that was with Eurofins, which was okay, but it was a PCR test because I was in the time when you had to have a PCR test. Before that, we used Randox, and Randox would send a kit to the address you nominate. So we had the boxes sent to our daughter, and we did the tests in the house. We had to drop them off at a drop-off point, which all worked okay, but the drop-off point was a rather obscure place, a hotel in the middle of nowhere. But fortunately we had access to a car, so it was not too bad. So yeah, and I guess the rules could change at any time depending on what happens to numbers. So we're just going to cross the road here and pop into Leo's so we can have a coffee there.
There we go.
Thank you. Ready to get you on our video again.
Thank you.
Oh well, thank you very much. Every little bit helps.
Oh, the weather's been awful though, hasn't it?
But we needed the water, but because they said that we were gonna have a little hurricane. Thank God we didn't get it. So.
Yes.
No, I think
We got the water, but not the hurricane.
Yeah.
Cheers,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So here we are in
Turn it on.
and we're in Leo's pub. We just got our coffee and a nice little walk around Magaluf. We haven't done an extensive one this time, but it's very, very quiet, but at least it was dry. So thanks for watching, and if you haven't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.
5,600 steps.
And we managed 5,000 steps. Cheers to that. I'll drink to that.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Let's go.